For the mind is without fear, and the head is held high. For knowledge is free, for the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. For words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, for the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. O my Father, let my country wake, let my country awake. Hello and good morning, dear friends. Myself, Fakat Lohia, Assistant Professor, Swami Vivekananda Government Postgraduate College, Lohagarh, Uttarakhand. Today, I'm going to take this opportunity to give my seminar presentation since I have selected a very significant poem composed by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. I would like to explain this poem. Before explaining this poem, I would like to say something about this poem. For the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore is one of his vastly read and discussed poems. It was originally composed in Bengali, possibly in the year 1900, under the title Prarthana, which means prayer. It appeared in the volume called Nivedya in the year 1901. Tagore himself translated the Bengali poem into English, and that translation appeared as poem 35 in his Nobel winning anthology called Geetanjali. This was published by the Indian Society, London, in the year 1912. So, when the poem was written, India was under the British rule and people were very eagerly waiting to have their freedom from the British rule. The poem is written in the form of a prayer to God, the Almighty, for true freedom for his country, and thus Tagore reveals his own concept of freedom throughout the poem, where the mind is without fear. Now, friends, let's have line by line explanation. Okay, first line, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. In the very first line, the poet prays to the Almighty that his countrymen should be free from the fear of oppression or forced compulsion. He wishes that everyone in his country has his head held high in dignity. In other words, according to him, in a truly free country, every person should be fearless and should have a sense of self dignity. Where knowledge is free. In the second line, he says that what actually he dreams. He dreams of a nation where knowledge is free. It means where education should not be restricted to the upper class only, but everybody should be allowed to acquire knowledge, to acquire education. Not only that, the children should learn freely from the nature and around the world. They should not be forced to memorize some predetermined lessons. And this is Tagore's typical concept of education. Now, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. In next two lines, what he explains, what he wants to say, what he emphasizes, let's see. He emphasizes the unity of not only of his countrymen, but also of the entire world. He thinks that there should be no division among people based on their caste, creed, color, religion, or other baseless superstitions. In other words, prejudices and superstitions should not divide the people in groups and break their unity. Now he says, where words come out from the depth of truth. In fifth line of Where the Mind is Without Fear, Tagore wants a nation where people are truthful, where they should not be superficial and the words should come out from the depth of their hearts. Now, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection. In the sixth line of the poem, the poet wants everyone to work hard to reach their goal and in the long run to reach perfection. He thinks they should not be tired by working. People should not be lazy and ignoring their work. Now, for the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habits. In line 7, the poet compares reason or logical thinking to a clear stream, and in the next line compares dead habits or superstitious beliefs to a dreary desert. He wants the stream of reason not to lose its way into the desert of prejudices. In short, people's thought should be monitored by rational thinking, not by superstition. Logic should rule over old baseless beliefs. And now he says, where the mind is led forward by the into ever widening thought and action. In line 9 and 10, the poet wishes his countrymen to be progressive and broad minded. He wants that their minds are led forward to ever widening thought and action by the Almighty. In short, he should in short, we should be open minded and do something unusual or extraordinary, overcoming the narrowness of mind. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. In the final line of the poem, the poet addresses the God as Father. He asks him to awaken his country into such a heaven of freedom where the above conditions meet. Okay. So to make it clear, the poet wants praise to the Almighty to raise or lift his country to such heights where freedom should be realized its best. In turn, he is actually praying that God awakens his countrymen so that they should come out from the darkness of ignorance, prejudices, disunity, and all other evils. So here I also want to suggest that I also want to suggest what actually Rabindranath Tagore wants to awaken. Basically, Rabindranath Tagore wants to awaken God within us, to free our minds from shackles and bondages. It is not invoking God, but using it as a metaphor for the higher self within us. This interpretation is beautiful, and I cannot resist the urge to add it here. Thank you. Thanks a lot.